value in the many agreements we have reported you talk about in time past. But let us touch on illegal mining quickly. You have been advocating that illegal miners legalize their operations. You've said over 250 mining cooperatives have been formed in a year, with 50 joining monthly. Precisely, how is this transition monitored? What is the success rate? And how many of these cooperatives are now actively mining legally and paying royalties?
Exactly the statistics that you just read out is the situation on ground. When we came in, that cooperative policy is just one aspect of our two-pronged approach to solving the issue, the protracted problem of illegal mining in Nigeria. The first part of the policy is the coercive method, or the the coercive or kinetic method, which involves the security agencies, which culminated in our establishment of the mining marshals. And within 1 year of establishing that special security architecture devoted to mining, to combating illegal mining operation in Nigeria, over 300 illegal operators have been arrested, apprehended by these mining marshals, and as we speak, over 150 are undergoing prosecution, and we have secured several convictions, including both local and foreign nationals, convicted. This has never happened before the advent of this administration. And in fact, only last week, the AFCC secured conviction of 4 foreign nationals for engaging in illegal mining operation. So that's the first part of that strategy.
And that first part is important. Just before you go to the second part, Mr. Alake, let me follow up on what you have said, because I'll tell you one thing your critics are saying. They are saying that this approach doesn't deter high-scale illegal mining cartels. Are you saying that this prosecution indeed is dismantling the economic and criminal networks behind large-scale illegal extraction in Nigeria?
Look, don't forget that in any society you have illegal people, illegal operations in virtually all sectors. It's not peculiar to Nigeria, so we don't need to glare about it. We need to tackle it. We need to see it as a challenge and tackle it, and that's what we're doing. It happens everywhere. In fact, all over Africa, wherever there is mining, you discover insecurity associated with mining, illegal operations associated with mining. So it's not a peculiar problem to Nigeria. Our own difference in this government is that we are taking a totally different approach to solving it, a pragmatic approach to solving it. That's why we crafted the two-pronged policies of persuasive and coercive. I have spoken about the coercive, which is the employing security architecture and all of that, which has been yielding salutary results, which I read out about all these arrests, apprehension, prosecution, and all that are by the security outfit. That's the coercive part of the policy. Now, the persuasive or the non-kinetic part of that policy is the encouragement of these people to go into to form cooperatives. This actually involves the artisanal and the illegal operators. Now, because when you are being creative with policy formulation and implementation, then you discover that it is not just restricted to coercive methods alone. You also have to employ the persuasive. So our persuasive method is to encourage these people to form cooperatives. Right. And within a year of announcing this policy, over 250 cooperative societies have been formed in this sector. And through that, over 70,000 jobs have been created. Now, the beauty of this is these so-called hitherto illegal operators now forming themselves into cooperatives become formalized. they become structured, they become identifiable, and when they are formalized, they can now become eligible to source funding from financial institutions to expand their businesses. And while they are structured, formalized, identifiable, government can then begin to derive royalties from them, which hitherto was not possible. And this has, again, like I said, been yielding positive results. Over 70,000 jobs have thus been created.
Honorable Minister, you have highlighted quite well the economics of things, but there is the environmental side of mining. And I'm looking at the figures here. You shared that 955 applications were processed, 867 licenses approved in first quarter this year, including 512 for exploration. There's a widespread concern for environmental degradation and, you know, the inadequate benefits or perhaps the implication it has for the local communities. Is there a strict regulation you're working by to know if we're not doing too much in a particular area and considering the impact is also going to have on the environment?
Now, this formed it actually was number 3 on our 7-point agenda, which I told you we crafted on assumption of office, because having surveyed the landscape of the solid mineral sector on resorption here, we found that environmental degradation, formed a critical element of the lapses that we found on ground. And the first thing we did was to review the community development agreement, which was on ground. Now, hitherto, you had to obtain licenses were approved without the presentation of letters of consent as a precondition for approving licenses. And this led to all kinds of disputes and litigations, inhibiting progress, and business operations in the environment, which also led to environmental degradation and community neglect, because where 2, 3, 4, 5 operators or companies are engaged in dispute with local communities over letters of consent, they won't have business engagements. And if they don't have business engagements, there will be no profit made. And if there's no profit made, no revenue accruing, there will be nothing to repatriate back to the communities. So we had to review the community development agreement and made letters of consent, the presentation of letters of consent from the communities, a precondition for our approval of applications for licenses. And this has also yielded very positive results. Now, you have to present a letter of consent from the community in which you intend to operate, for us to approve your letter of, your license. Now, not only that, we increased the amount of CSR, the volume of CSR, corporate social responsibility, that must be paid back into the communities where mining operations occurred. Not only that, environmental remediation is also a precondition. You must show us a concrete plan of environmental remediation before we also approve your license. And of course, we have a department in the ministry, environmental monitoring and compliance department that monitors all of these things. So we are not just engaged in rhetoric, we are engaged in pragmatism, and we monitor all of these things. And let me burst your bubbles. In fact, you know that our revised community development agreement is now being copied by South Africa. South Africa has been engaged in mining long before Nigeria. In fact, mining is one of the mainstay or economic pillars of South Africa. But still, they had to come to Nigeria, study our community development
Honourable Minister.
Agreement. And this was even attested to by the president of South Africa.
Honourable Minister.
I was in the hall in Cape Town when he mentioned this.
Now that my bubble is
3
burst,
weeks ago, I hosted the
let us take a short break and we'll be right back with more. Stay with us, everyone.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. Unlabeled and
I had to stop you midway so I can get you to answer as many questions because we have a limited time. But thank you so much for staying the course on the program. You've described the Nigerian mining company as a special purpose vehicle for Nigeria to finally have a stake in its own mineral wealth. I think you talked about 25% to government, another 25% to Nigerians, and 50% to private investors. But talk to us about how this model is different from the other failed government ventures of the past. What safeguards really are in place to ensure elements like transparency, competitiveness, and professional management?
That's exactly why we patterned it after the NLNG, system, and not after the old NNPC structure. Now, when I resumed, I also saw that the old Nigerian Mining Corporation had become defunct, and there was no vehicle with which Nigeria, as an entity, can begin to enjoy the benefits of revenue accruing from solid minerals directly, and no SPV, special purpose vehicle, that will engage or on behalf of Nigeria with multinationals and investors coming into the sector. So we designed this new company, Nigerian Solid Minerals Company, which the president graciously approved for us, and has even approved the CEO, the appointment of the CEO, a man we had hunted from Australia, finance mining sector. And he is a Nigerian, and he has resumed and is working with the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, that is Murphy, to bring this company on stream. And they are working assiduously as we speak. Only this morning I had almost a 2-hour meeting with the CEO of that company and the Murphy officials on moving this company forward. Now, the company will be structured, or is structured, along equity participation of 25% to federal government, 25% to the generality of Nigerians. Any individual, any bona fide Nigerian will be qualified to take shares, but limited to totality of 25%, and then 50% to the private sector. Now, the essence of this, the philosophy behind this, is to ensure that this new company is wholly, substantially private sector driven, to satisfy those attributes you mentioned of transparency, integrity, credibility, right? And competitiveness. And of course, we want this to be a legacy of not just this ministry or this minister, but of this administration. Right. So that when it is substantially private sector driven, it can endure beyond the tenure of this government. It becomes an enduring legacy for generations yet unborn. And, of course, it will reduce that structure, equity structure, would significantly reduce government interference. Unlike other, say, quasi-government companies or agencies, there will be minimal or scant government interference in it, because it will be substantially private sector owned and driven. And that will ensure that it satisfies all of those attributes that you mentioned.
It sounds like the public share will be floated on the Nigerian exchange. When should Nigerians, everyday Nigerian, expect to begin buying in?
They will know when to start buying it, because it will be publicized. You people will publicize it. The structure is being fashioned out now.
Let us walk you through the engagements we've seen you have across countries. You recently met with China's ambassador, signed MOUs with South Africa, pledging full cycle mining all the way from extraction to local processing. But how binding are these licenses, especially when you consider the fact that we've seen some clauses, right, that ensure, what clauses really ensure that foreign partners actually pay attention to adding values to the locals, you know, rather than exporting raw minerals as we've seen too often in the past?
You see, it's not, we haven't granted licenses to anybody. You know, we've signed MOUs, and MOUs are intentional. You know, these are statements of intention. They are not legally binding. It's when you sign a contract that these things are legally binding. So MOU is memorandum of understanding. MOUs are not contracts. So there is no contractual obligations until contracts are signed. So there is really no fear at all. However, to come to your point of ensuring that these foreign interests abide by our local value addition policy, I said earlier on in my remarks that even locals, we are not signing licenses even for locals or for any investor that does not show us this concrete work plan of local value addition, which we are monitoring. We have a monitoring department in the ministry. And it is the efficacy and efficiency of these monitoring efforts that have yielded the results of those factories that I said are ready for commissioning this quarter. So that's an eloquent example of how efficient our monitoring system is and how passionate we are about the execution of this local value addition policy. That is our legacy. We're not going to joke with it, and we're not joking with it, because that is what we are showing to Nigerians and to the world to showcase the seriousness of this administration. And like I said earlier on, even this policy is resonating beyond the shores of Nigeria. It's reverberating all over Africa, and Africans have embraced it. So it's no longer a localized policy. Nigerians should be proud that Nigeria is now driving the local value addition policy for the entire African continent. Okay. That shows we are leaders in this regard. And just, you know, this is very remarkable. Noting that only less than 2 years that we came into government, we've been able to put the Nigeria solid mineral sector on national, continental, and international, space.
Honorable Minister,
pedestal.
It sounds a lot like
everybody is now grappling and rushing to Nigeria for investment, because we've created an enabling environment.
All right. It sounds like you're assuring Nigerians that the benefits of these agreements and policies are on their side and on the horizon. But what are the short-term wins for Nigerians, especially host communities? What can they expect by, say, end of this year? Are there jobs to look forward to, revenue, or some form of infrastructure?
I just told you that even through the formalization of, cooperatives, we've been able to create 70,000 jobs within 1 year of announcing and implementing this.
Well, I'm sure you know that we have bigger potentials than that.
Sectors.
I mean,
the mining operations itself by the mining companies. Over 3,000 jobs have been created. We've had upsurge in the registration of mining companies, which led to mining operations. And don't forget that there is multiplier effect for each company that engages in mining. Not only employing the locals, the community people in which they operate, in artisan, labor, all kinds of, even the producers of food, or hawkers of water or food. These are catalysts to the local economy, to the local community. Not to talk about the establishment of amenities for these local communities, like hospitals, like schools, like recreation grounds, and such other corporate social responsibility efforts that are going on as we speak. For every company with license and is engaged in mining operations, there is bound to be community benefit.
Right.
And we have a whole department for this in the ministry that monitors this very assiduously, very seriously. And so even the communities, the traditional rulers, have been coming in droves into this office to thank us for this renewed community development agreement that we are implementing, that is benefiting them in the local communities.
The expectation,
our youths are being, employed.
The
daily.
expectation, Minister, is high. I think you once said Nigeria had been a consumer economy for too long, even importing toothpaste. So with everything you've outlined today, from cooperatives to corporations, policies to partnerships, Nigerians are hoping that we are really on the path to becoming a mining industrial nation, take up more percentage of our GDP, and we're not just laying another set of hopeful foundations, especially now that we're counting down to midterm for this administration. But before we go, because we're running out of time, and I know that Mr. Alake can speak for 2 hours, so I want to get in more. In 2023, you served as the Director of Strategic Communications for the Tinubu presidential campaign. And we saw you on TV selling a vision of renewed hope and economic turnaround. We're counting down to 2 years now. As we approach the midterm mark, many Nigerians are still grappling with rising costs of living and insecurity. Do you believe this administration has really lived up to the expectations you helped shape? And what would you say to Nigerians who feel disappointed today?
My dear brother, Nigerians have never, and I say this with all emphasis at my disposal, and I stand to be controverted by anybody, and I'm ready and willing to present myself for a public debate with anybody. Nigerians have never had an administration like this, headed by a president, a man who has vision, who has knowledge, who has courage. These three critical attributes of leadership, we have never seen it combined in any previous leader of Nigeria, except Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, if I tell you there is no making of an omelette without breaking the eggs. Today, from economic dimension to political dimension to social angle, this government has touched every area. Infrastructurally, there is no government in the history of Nigeria that has embarked on very bold infrastructural development, cutting across all strata of society. Take the game-changing Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. This was something dreamt of over 40 years ago. No administration had the courage, the boldness, the audacity to implement it. Whereas we've had administrations that govern this country swimming in money, but lacking in knowledge and vision. Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done it. Don't forget that the issue of fuel subsidy that has been creating ripples, this was a bottomless pit for Nigeria. If you want to restructure an economy like Nigeria that had been in the economic doldrums and in the abyss for decades, you have to stop digging. And when you are in the hole, you stop digging. And the only way to stop digging is to seal the leakages, to plug the loopholes. Now, the oil fuel subsidy was a huge loophole that the president had to plug immediately on assumption of office. What has this translated to? It has translated into a humongous amount of revenue accruing to the entire structure of government all over the nation, federal, state, local government. The state government, the subnationals, have never had this type of revenue accruing to them in the history of Nigeria. I mean, let's face facts. Let us move away from emotions and sentiments and face realities. The subnationals, and these are attested to by governors, they've never had this amount of money. So what should the citizenry do? Ask your leaders at the subnational levels. What have they done with your revenue?
All right.
One governor recently confessed publicly that his allocation has tripled since the advent of this government. So what has happened to this allocation? This revenue, increase in revenue, is supposed to percolate down the line. So the president has done his bit by removing this huge allocation that was going to the private pockets of smugglers, of fuel smugglers, of the economic parasites, those who are lynching the country economically, draining the Nigerian citizenry. Now, that is one aspect of it. On the federal side, a lot of this revenue have been diverted into huge infrastructural development. Like I mentioned, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. As we speak, the Sokoto-Badagry Highway is ongoing. This cuts across 7 states of agrarian land, opening those states into huge agricultural land. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, with coastal lanes traversing 9 states, is an economic game changer. Imagine the property value all along the 9 states. Imagine the economic tourism that would, come up all along the 9 states of the south. Not to talk of those of the north. Not to talk of other agricultural inputs. Not to talk of all the technological innovations and developments in the communication sector, in the ICT sector, the financial wizardry of this Mr. President.
Mr. Alake.
Now, coming to those who you say are disappointed. Just a second. Those you say who are disappointed. Nobody, there is no society in the world that satisfies 100% of its citizenry. It's not possible. It's impracticable. And it behoves on you, the purveyors of information, to enlighten the citizenry. I mean, this is an economic warfare that the administration is pursuing to restructure the economy, lay a solid foundation, and let it germinate. So that when it germinates, there is no public policy that does not have a gestation period.
Mr. Alake, just allow me to butt in.
Begin to manifest.
Because you have talked about gestation period. You have mentioned that, I believe you're saying that reforms take time. But I wanted to speak specifically because for many Nigerians, Mr. Alake, for many Nigerians, especially those in the informal sector, the question really isn't about patience, right? It's about survival. With inflation eating away at income and job creation still not meeting the scale of unemployment, I'm wondering how you respond to critics who say this government underestimated the immediate human cost of its economic policies, and that perhaps communication strategies in 2023 were more aspirational than realistic.
No, you see, there is no underestimation of the implications of the economic policy. There is nowhere in the world that economic policies don't have implications. And I did say in my opening remark on this question that you can never make an omelette without breaking the eggs. So there's no implication of, do you want to reduce the implication of breaking the eggs? There's no way. The only thing that you can do is to put in palliatives along the line to cushion the effects of the economic policies. But to say the economic policies will not have casualties, then that is delusional. That is not realistic. That's not pragmatic. We must be pragmatic in our approach to issues. Now, There is nowhere in the world today, my dear brother, there is no country in the world today that is swimming in economic, what do I call it? You know, economic El Dorado. Is it the United States of America? Is it Britain? Is it Germany? Mention those so-called developed societies of the world that is not going through the economic throes or paroxysms of restructuring today. If you go to London today, the cost of an egg, a crate of egg, when you convert it to naira, you will run away. In fact, you will thank your stars that you are in Nigeria. Not to talk of fuel, not to talk of tomatoes. Go to Tesco in London. Go and price one tomato. Convert the price to naira. You will thank your stars that you are in Nigeria at this very moment. Now, coming to the brass tacks. If we are serious about restructuring this economy, we must have the resilience, the patience, the consistency to go through the throes. And when we go through the throes, definitely the results will become very salutary. It will become very complimentary. It's like Nigerians want to start climbing a tree from the leaves. It's not possible. It's not practicable. We should be able to face the facts and tell our people the truth and not help to propagate delusions and illusions. It is not practicable. We must start to climb a tree from the stem and then climb up. Now, for a country that had never been really restructured economically, for a bold leader to come and restructure it means that we must go through certain pains. And there is a saying, no pain, no gain. We are going through the pains temporarily. Temporarily, the gains are beginning to show. Number one, I told you that there is an increase, humongous increase in revenue accruing to the subnationals. That's a gain.
Absolutely, it is. But I'm just hoping that...
What are they doing with these gains?
I'm sure that the Tinubu administration...
Where the citizenry must direct their
Honorable
focus.
Minister, I'm sure that the Tinubu administration would hope that your position resonates with majority of Nigerians, because the conversation on the street would be, for instance, it's a gestation period. We have broken the egg to make an omelette. But they are saying they haven't seen the body language on the part of leadership. You are not cutting cost. There are certain things that have been on the media for the past 2 years that did not resonate with many Nigerians who suffer the shoe where it pinches most. You don't agree with them that they probably need some leadership in that regard so that they can tell that we're all in this together?
Name one such example.
Oh, we have numerous examples. The conversation about building a house for the vice president. Mr. President got a fantastic car. I mean, there's an endless list of examples that we can talk about, but we don't have as much time.
Those are rumors. It is an onerous responsibility of media practitioners to investigate. I am one myself. And in our own days, when we were in active journalism, we don't just listen to rumor and propagate the same. We delve into the issue. We will take pains to investigate. If I were a reporter today, I would look into the background of the story. People don't do background checks. There's no longer sense of history in this profession. For instance, the house of the vice president that you said they are building. Go and look at the house of the vice president currently, right? Now, if you wanted to build such a house, you are not building it for the individual that is occupying it today. You are building it for posterity. And it has to endure. Let me give you an example. When the current president was governor of Lagos State, and he was embarking on infrastructural development of the state. I was a member of that cabinet. I was in the executive council when all of those policies were being enunciated and conceptualized and executed. The Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, that you see today, many Nigerians that came to Lagos less than 25 years ago would never know how that road was. Right? That road was a single lane road. And the governor then said we needed to expand that road. All the buildings that abutted that road at that time, the property owners were afraid that they were going to demolish their properties for the expansion of that road. And we said, no, we are not going to demolish anything. We ended up not demolishing any house, right? But the important thing, significant thing that is relevant to your point is that the governor then, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, said, we must build a road that will last minimum of 25 years without a single pothole. So it had to be more expensive than the one built for 2-3 years. Today, 25 years after, go to Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, and tell me which pothole you see on that road.
All right.
That was built 25 years ago.
I hear you, Mr. Alake.
And
I wish that.
So that is what is being done.
I wish we had all the time, right, Honorable Minister. But the truth is,
I wish so too.
Yes, but I'm hoping that you also got the message, because my job as a journalist is also to intimate you with what the people feel and what they are saying. The people are saying they are not seeing this government cutting costs. The lawmakers are spending billions buying cars. You know, we are building houses at the time where Nigerians are feeling. I can tell you precisely how much I pay for fuel, how it impacts my transportation and my take home as we speak today. So, but just as we wrap up quickly, yes. Honorable Minister, as we wrap up, walk us through.
Sorry, before you wrap up, the Nigerians that you say are complaining legislators are buying cars.
Yes.
Who elected those legislators? Are they not the same Nigerians?
Well, that's the point.
The father a Nigerian is away from government. Wait a minute. The father a Nigerian is away from government. The more strident and loud he is against government. The nearer he is to government, the more silent he becomes.
Right? But they're not silent, they are talking. Nigerians are talking. Nigerians are expressing their opinions and how they feel about precisely how their leaders, behave. Nigerians are talking, they are not silent. In any way, they aren't, and they can only hope that the leaders are listening to them. Mr. Alake. All right. Good place to leave it. Honorable Minister, Solid Mineral Development, quite an interesting conversation. Thank you so much for talking to us. And then we wish you and the government all the best. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with more right after this. Stay with us, everyone. Continues, everyone.